Welcome to our channel. We're excited to have you join us in learning to master English. Our channel aims to make learning English easy, fun, and engaging through our podcast series.
All right, welcome in everyone to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking into the origins of Ramadan, something we've been meaning to explore for a while now. And our main source for this is going to be an Indonesian audio file. It's called Indonesian Kapan Asal Mula Bulan Ramadan.mp3. And, don't worry if you don't speak Indonesian, we'll translate and break down the key details for you. But, I'm really interested to kind of get into this because, have you ever really thought about how Ramadan actually came to be? It's a story that's so deeply connected to the beginnings of Islam itself. And I think, we're going to uncover some really interesting connections.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And what's really interesting is that, the origins of Ramadan, they don't actually lie in some kind of grand declaration or a legal mandate or anything like that. It really started with a very profound personal quest, for truth and for meaning.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like a real, search for meaning. And I guess to get into that, I guess our source takes us back to 610 CE, and we're in Mecca. And the Prophet Muhammad, at the age of 40, is seeking out some solace, some reflection, and he ends up in the cave of Hira. Can you kind of paint us a picture of what was going on in the world at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can imagine Mecca back then, it was a society where idol worship was it was everywhere, very prevalent. And also there were a lot of social injustices happening all around. And, against this backdrop, the Prophet Muhammad was troubled, by what he saw. And so he would often retreat to this cave, to the cave of Hira, to just kind of contemplate, think about the deeper meaning of life.
Wow. So like a real seeking truth moment, right? He was looking for something.
Yeah. And
it was during one of these retreats, right, in the month of Ramadan, that something pretty extraordinary happened.
Exactly. So it was during Ramadan that the angel Gabriel revealed the first verses of the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad. And this was a moment that would literally, change the course of history. And the words themselves are incredibly powerful. From Surah Al-Alaq, chapters 96, 1-5, it says, "Read in the name of your Lord who has created all that exists. He has created man from a clot, a piece of thick coagulated blood. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who has taught the writing by the pen. He has taught man that which he knew not." And this revelation, this marked the very beginning of Muhammad's prophethood, and it also marked the beginning of, the Quran being revealed.
Wow, that's powerful. I mean, it really makes you think about how something, so personal like this experience can actually go on to transform and become the cornerstone of a global faith.
It's true. It's a remarkable journey. And it's actually in these early revelations that we really start to see the seeds of, what would become Ramadan.
Okay, so this experience in the cave of Hira, this really laid the foundation for what Ramadan would become, which, as we know, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. But wasn't fasting already a thing back then? And, weren't other religions already practicing fasting? What made Ramadan unique?
That's a great question. And you're absolutely right. Fasting did exist in various forms in other religions at the time. But Ramadan was really set apart because it had a very specific purpose and guidelines. And these were revealed in the Quran. And so this actually brings us to 624 CE. Now, at this point, the Prophet has migrated to Medina. And this is when Ramadan is formally established as a pillar of Islam. And, the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah 2.183 states, "Oh, you who have believed, decreed upon you is fasting, as it was decreed upon those before you, that you may become righteous."
So it sounds like the Quran is really emphasizing that fasting during Ramadan is not just about, not eating or drinking. It's about something much deeper, right? This
Yeah.
idea of becoming righteous.
Exactly. You got it. So the concept of righteousness in Islam, which is also called taqwa, it really encompasses a very deep sense of awareness of God. And this leads to self-restraint and also a commitment to, living a virtuous and a moral life.
Okay, so Ramadan is not just a historical event. It's a practice that's still so deeply embedded in the Islamic faith today, and pretty significant one at that.
Absolutely. And it's also a time for huge, spiritual growth. The month of Ramadan is also known as the month of Nuzulul Quran. So this is, marking the revelation of the Quran.
Oh, that's interesting. So the month in which the Quran was first revealed is now dedicated to its continued study and reflection.
Yeah, exactly. And, Muslims during Ramadan, they engage in lots of different practices. They're fasting from dawn until dusk. They're doing these special night prayers called Taraweeh, and there's increased Quran recitation and also acts of charity. And all of these things really foster self-reflection, discipline, and it also really strengthens those community bonds.
I've always been so fascinated by Laylatul Qadr, the night of power. What makes this night so special, and how do people experience it?
Yeah, so Laylatul Qadr, it's believed to be the night when the Quran was first revealed.
Right.
And it's considered to be more blessed than 1,000 months. And so Muslims spend this night in prayer, seeking forgiveness and divine grace.
Wow. So we've really taken a journey here. We went from that very first revelation in the cave of Hira all the way to the establishment of Ramadan as this central pillar in the Islamic faith. And we've really uncovered its historical context, but we've also, explored this deeper significance.
Yeah. And what I think is really interesting is how this understanding, this knowledge can really change, your perspective on Ramadan. Even if you're not observing it yourself, you can still appreciate the values that it promotes, Things like self-discipline, spiritual growth, and compassion for others.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like having this whole new lens to see the world through. So, as you all go about your day to day, just think about this. Knowing the origins and the depth of meaning behind Ramadan, how might this knowledge enhance, your appreciation and experience of this holy month? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the origins of Ramadan.
Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe.